Hello and welcome, and in today's video I'm going to share with you 10 really great Ark creatures. So let's get into it. So, the Stegosaurus. Definitely an essential Ark creature, which is great for gathering any kind of berry that you can find, as berries are an extremely useful Ark resource, which obviously you can find from any kind of bush on the Ark map. And they'll be used for things like narcotics requiring narco berries. But also these things are great for soaking turrets as well. And I can't remember if it's the heavy or the hardened plate, but one of those does soak against turrets, and then one of them is great for gathering wood, which you'll need a lot of, and then the sharpened plate is going to deal the most amount of damage to other things if you want to use your Stego to attack creatures, as it is actually pretty good at attacking creatures as well, as it has a wealth of great abilities that came out in the TLC, which allow it to deal that all famous bleed ability and just absolutely soak health out of creatures. But it is also the plate which you have to use to actually gather berries from the Stego. Definitely something which you will need to do on the Stego, and the Stego is a great creature for it. Again, it's not so big like the Brontosaurus, so it can be easily taken around, and it isn't so bad at gathering berries like the Parasaur. I would agree the Parasaur is a great tame for many other things, but in the grand scheme of gathering berries quickly, the Stegosaurus is significantly better than the Parasaur. Now, the Anky, another really great Ark tame, one of which you'll probably find yourself taming at some point, and definitely one which is worth you actually taming that creature. And the Anky is by far the best creature out there for gathering any kind of metal. Yes, you do have the metal pick and the metal hatchet, obviously, which is going to be great before you can tame yourself an Anky, but really, as soon as possible, you're going to want yourself an Anky and an RG to go along with it. So in fact, I am actually going to put 2 creatures within this one creature, and again, I know it's not a top 10, this is just 10 Ark creatures, which I think are really great, but the RG definitely does deserve to be here as well, and I haven't put it later on, so I'm going to put the RG and the Anky in the same spot here, and it's for definitely good reason, as always, as these things are by far the best creatures for gathering metal in Ark. And in Ark, you're going to need a lot of metal for many things like guns, just crafting materials, saddles, so many things in Ark use metal, and also you'll need it for all the kind of fabrication stuff, and you may even need to use it for some base building options. So definitely the Anky is a great shout if you're short of all of that very precious metal. The crystal wyverns. Now these things are so close to being a perfect tame, but sadly there is a level lock on when you can first get them, which kind of makes sense because they are really easy to tame and just such great tames that it kind of makes sense that you'd want to be level 65 before taming them, as they will still get you really well through the game, even into the level 90s, and maybe having one when you're like level 5 or level 10 isn't very good for Ark's general progression. But when you look on more recent maps, and when you can get a Mwing so early on in the Ark game, it doesn't really make sense, as Ark's balance at the moment, especially with maps like Gen 2, really is not that strong. So I can't really see a reason why, apart from balance reasons obviously, to have this thing unlocked after level 65. But obviously, because it's a wyvern, it doesn't need any saddle. But compared to the normal wyvern, these things are significantly easier to tame, which is why the normal wyverns aren't even on this list. But the crystal wyvern definitely does make it, as they are great, really easy tames. They're just passive tames, you just need to feed them a special kind of crystal, which you'll find on Crystal Isles, and then you'll have yourself a tamed crystal wyvern. And if you go out for the blood crystal wyverns, which is not this one, you'll definitely be able to tell the difference, then you have yourself an even better time, as it has a wealth of other great abilities, which something like the water crystal wyvern, which I think this one is, just simply doesn't have. The Astrod Delph, another one of Ark's really influential tames, and just really great tames as well. Again, the Astrod Delph spawning on Gen 2, meaning it is a very OP creature, as pretty much all the new creatures that were introduced on Gen 2 are absolutely OP, from the Strider to the Shadowmane to the Mwing to the Astrod Delph to the Voidworm even. They are all really OP creatures, and again, for the Astrod Delph, that is not dissimilar. The Astrod Delph, although having an obscenely high saddle level, I think is in the 110s, this thing can zip across the map with ultimate speed, like really fast. And also it can do many tricks and acrobatics in the air, which makes this thing a really fun flyer for you to have. And definitely a very good flyer for you to have as well. And I don't see why anyone, if they didn't have the opportunity to tame one, wouldn't tame one. You may say they're expensive again, as you need elements to run them and to tame them. But on Gen 2, element really is not a problem, and element really is not a problem anymore. So you don't have to worry too much. But if it was like when element was first introduced back on Ark the Island, then these things would be so expensive and barely anyone would have them. But nowadays, loads of people have an Astrod Delph, and they're not actually too bad to tame. Just watch out for all those void worms if you're taming on Gen 2. The Danicus. Now this thing was originally introduced back on Valguero, meaning it is free to every Ark player and it is not locked behind a paywall, but pretty much no creature is now after Fjorda came out. And the Danicus, like all of the creatures on this list, is an absolutely insane creature. Firstly, this thing has an absolutely insane ability, which I'm pretty sure no other creature has. It is able to grapple onto bigger creatures and actually deal the bleed ability to them. And the thing is, this even works on bosses as well, which is where the thing of no other creature can do this comes in. As far as my knowledge goes, the Danicus is the only creature which can do this, and it is a very easy simple tame, which isn't really locked behind a level except its saddle itself. But you can tame one before and get a pack assembled, and then by the time you have yourself a saddle, you already have yourself an insane pack of Deinonychuses, and you'll really have a good time. Again, those bosses are going to be really easy with this thing. And also just general mobility and use across the map is great as well. With their immense damage, they can take out anything that will be in your path, and also they can scale any kind of wall or vertical surface, quite similarly to the Rock Drake. Except instead of walking up it, they kind of jump up it, which is still fine as it still gets the job done. And I'm really not that great at doing this, but once you do learn how to fully do this, you'll have yourself an absolute insane beast of a creature, and they don't even take full damage as well, which is a really nice ability to have. Now, the Snowout. What a creature this is, and also thanks to it now being on Fjorda, this thing is extremely accessible to everyone else, which is really nice to have, as a great creature should also be accessible to everyone that has bought Ark, and that is definitely a big factor in what makes a creature good, not just how good is the actual creature. But the Snowout is definitely an absolutely insane Ark creature, which has a wealth of abilities which no other Ark creature has. But similarly to the Griffin, it does have the glide ability, which is really great for any flyer to have, and I'm pretty sure you can also equip weapons on the back of it too, pretty much like the Griffin. But even if you can't, you can still do that all famous glide ability, which is really an ability which you will love having, as it means you can zip across the map with ultimate speed. But also they do have this kind of heat seeking ability, where they can seek out any organism in Ark which is giving off heat, which is really great for any PvP Ark players out there that do watch this channel. I know most of you are PvE players that watch my channel, but for you PvP players, this is great and really useful if you're trying to find someone that may be raiding your base. You also want to level up the stamina on these things, as they will heal creatures, but you also need that stamina to just fly longer distances anyway, so it works out really well. But just do really take into mind that healing ability is going to heal all of the creatures within the healing radius, not just your tamed creatures, which can be great if you're taming a creature and you've just shot loads of tranks into it and you need to heal it up quickly, so then it won't lose so much torpor, and then you won't have to be waiting for like 20-30 minutes for it to heal up again, so then you can shoot more tranks into it, so then it will heal up again after that. It's just a really long process, and the Snowout makes this thing significantly simpler, and it makes many tames a lot easier. Yes, it doesn't compare to the Managama in speed, but personally I'm not really a fan of the Managama. I'm much more a Snowout person. And also, if you take gachas into account as well, these things are even more useful, as those owl pellets from the Snowouts obviously are the reasons why gachas can get their absolutely insane loot. If you haven't done that yet, make sure to give it a try. Now, the Mwing, what an absolutely insane creature this is, again spawning on Gen 2 like another creature on this list. And what an OP creature this is. The Mwing can absolutely zip across any map with insane speeds, and I'm pretty sure it is the fastest travel mount out there as long as you use it effectively. And if you do learn how to use it effectively, especially on Gen 2, you'll be rewarded with several hexagons, as there are many race missions to do with the Mwing, again with the Astrod Delph, which was earlier on this list too. But obviously the Mwing isn't just great for travel, even though it is by far one of the best travel mounts out there. It is also a really easy tame, which does definitely make it a significantly better tame, and it is on Fielder, so it's accessible to all of you Ark players out there. But as well as all of its traveling abilities, I feel like I'm ranting on about its traveling so much, it is also a really great creature for raising up babies, and it can even steal enemy baby creatures too if you're into that PvP raid side of things. And if you're looking for a berry gatherer as well, these things, if you belly flop them onto berries, they'll gather berries. If you haven't done that yet, make sure to give it a try. Reapers are up next, and what a great creature these things are. The Reaper is an absolutely insane creature, which really does fit into the Arboration theme, and one which, especially if you're on Genesis Part 2, you should think about taming at some point, as Raasclark has a really easy tutorial, and the Reaper can be your first tame, only on Gen 2 though, as there's a really easy method for that map. On Arboration and other maps where the Reaper spawns, that is not going to be the case. But still, once you've prepared, unless you're on Gen 2 obviously, for all of those hours and you're just really far into the game, it is a really rewarding thing to actually have a Reaper. And the taming method is pretty fun as well, as long as it kind of mainly goes in your favour. It's kind of the same with the Shadowmane. The Shadowmane taming method is actually pretty cool when you think about it, but if it doesn't go well for you, you're really not going to enjoy that tame. Essentially, you'll need to get impregnated by the Reaper Queen for the Reaper tame, and the way you'll do that is by getting the Reaper to below 1000 health, I believe. Either way, it will glow, I think, purple or red, and then you'll know that you can go up to it, then it will impregnate you, and then you just need to raise yourself a Reaper baby, and you can get XP while it is still inside you to get that 100% effectiveness if you're on the lookout for that. But on Gen 2, you may not want to do that the first time round taming the Reaper. The Basilosaurus, maybe Ark's best ocean creature out there, but it may be overtaken by the Basilosaurus when that thing comes out, as it does share a lot of abilities with this, but we won't know until that thing comes out. For now, the Basilosaurus is by far the best ocean creature for doing any kind of caving, and is also just a great ocean creature for general exploration as well. Not the best for combat, obviously, you can save that for your Plesios, your Megalodons and your Mosas, but for everything else you're doing in the ocean, the Basilo is a great shout. Namely because this thing is immune to eels and jellyfish and all of those things, which is an insane ability to have, and it really does make your ocean life so much easier, as creatures even like the Mosa can be absolutely decimated by the Electrophorus in the ocean, and that is just really sad when you get your perfect Mosasaurus tame killed by loads of little electric eels. Definitely not something which you would enjoy at all, but do take into mind the Basilosaurus does have a depth limit, unlike every other ocean Ark creature, where it will take a little bit of damage if you do go too deep, so take that into mind. The Carno, or as many do call it, me myself, Carney Dave, if you know that reference. Comment down below which YouTuber started that name in the comments down below. If you were one of those OGs, then you know. Either way, the Carnotaurus is an absolutely insane carnivore, which in my opinion really does not get enough respect, and it is a great creature which I urge any of you out there to tame. Obviously it spawns on the island, and I'm pretty sure like every map has the Carnos on them. I can't think of any map where there aren't Carnos, which is really to your advantage, as it means whatever map you're playing on, you can always find yourself a Carno somewhere. And unlike the Aloe, they don't come in packs, so they're not the hardest to tame, And unlike the Rex, they don't lack in mobility and things like that. And also, compared to the Barry, they do deal a lot more damage, and they are better for general combat. So the Allosaurus, not the Allosaurus, the Carnotaurus, is a really, really great carnivore, which is a good middle ground for you. And their second attack ability will deal that all-famous bleed ability, which is great to have, especially for a carnivore. I know the Stego kind of has it. It does it in a slightly different way to every other creature, but it is really, really nice to have on a carnivore. And I'm so, so glad that the Carnotaurus actually has this. But anyway, that is the end of today's video, and I really do hope that you enjoyed. Also, in the comments, comment down below 10 ARC creatures which you just really like. Again, it doesn't have to be a top 10 ARC creatures, just 10 ARC creatures, and I'll see you later.